Skadgies. You're watching episode 19. 19. Nearly into 20. This time, though, we're going to be talking about Mark's dyslexia challenge. So he's going to be reading some stuff out in a bit. But before I do out else and forget, I'm going to read out some of these comments from the clip I did of Mark's. I thought it was an absolute corker. Hit pause. There it is. Pointing at. I can't remember what you were doing, what you were pointing at, but you were demonstrating something with your fingers. So, before I ask Mark what the crack is, I'm going to read these out. We've got Cheryl Downs. Lovely bit of squirrel. And I was like, what are you on about? And I was like, look at his face. Aye, it's got the teeth out. Lovely bit of squirrel. That'll do. Obviously, I had to chuck one in. I don't care what anyone says. This cake is flippin' moist. I changed it to flippin' for Mark's mum. Because I was going to put effing. And then your Ray. Typewriter music. I thought classic. Absolute classic, that. Typewriter music, of course it is. And then,
Oh, did he?
You did?
He put some. He put some links on. He could play the typewriter music.
Dennis.
Yeah.
F off. I'm not doing that. Oh, there's definitely an F shape there. That's what it looks like you're saying. Not doing that. And then of course your mum, finger bobs. Finger bobs. I thought, does she mean? I was thinking, does she mean finger bobs? Like, no, finger bobs. Aye. And of course you shared it on your own profile. And Robin says. Anybody? No? Dust. Carl, fidget spinners.
Love that.
Anita said it's your Alan
Fidget
Sugar
spinner.
impression. You're fired.
You're fired. You can't do that in a Geordie accent versus a Cheshire accent.
Gerut. And
Gerut.
Daniel Idiot. It appears I forgot my cutlery. I thought, ooh. That's a good one. It's a good one. You should see the engagement. I looked at the stats on that. Absolutely bonkers. It went out to something like nearly 400 different accounts. I was like, bloody hell, they do well. Gonna have to keep doing them. So looking.
Yeah.
Look.
Danny, just on Danny had a bit of bad news this week. So you know how I worked at Legal and General, the mobile house building. They announced they're closing it down this week. So yeah, got a bit of bad news, unfortunately.
Because they build all the prefabs and that, don't they? Modular homes.
Yeah, modular homes. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, was that not great, but.
Aye.
My best goes to Danny and the team there.
Aye.
So,
could be a new opportunity.
What did we say?
Aye. Well, you said they were
good bunch as well.
When you were working there, it was interesting work as well.
So yeah, good couple of mentions. Was there another one before that? What was the one the previous week? Or
there was. You're right. When you're right, you're right. There was mine that I totally forgot to do the other week. Where I've got me kind of look on my face. That had 16 comments. Because I was the one that really brought back some memories was I could crush a grape. That was from Rachel Morgan.
Yeah, the Cranky.
No, it was from
the Crankies.
It was from Crackerjack. Crackerjack.
Oh, it was Crackerjack.
Wow, Crackerjack.
But it was.
No, it was Stu Francis.
Was it the little Cranky that said it though?
Stu Francis. Aye.
Stu said it.
They have. What was
Ooh, I can crush a grape.
The Crankies used to say. It's in there. It'll come to us.
Yeah.
It'll come to us. Then, of course.
Yeah. That bloke that went out with the little girl.
The ex First Minister of Scotland. Aye. Then you're Ray.
Yeah.
Ooh, you are awful, but I like you. I So, there's a campness in there.
Yeah. Dick Embry.
Ooh, you're an eater.
That's enough about you.
What nice stotties you have. It's cheeky, exactly. Oh, it's cheeky from
nice
me.
baps.
It's a good one. Robin says it's when they tell you the McFlurry machine's working at McDonald's. Do you know how many years it is since I had a McFlurry? And your mum, right. Lovely melons, missus. I thought, from your mum. That's a fruity one from your mum there. Oh, aye.
As they call it, what did they used to call it? Slap and tickle comedy? From Carry On era, that sort of stuff, wasn't it?
Then, of course, we've had Hacky Travels. That's been doing well. So, there's some nice pictures there, mind.
Yeah.
Some nice pictures. There's a couple of things I'd never seen.
Yeah, that was round Loch Lomond mostly. But yesterday, yesterday I was doing a bit of work, and they took them up. They took the bag up Scafell Pike, the highest mountain in England. So and the climbers took a picture of him while they were up the pike. And then he's off to North Wales tomorrow for a little bit adventure tomorrow.
Aye. Mind you, only I can fix that, right? Aye. Shut up.
Well.
Aye.
We've got you out twice next week.
Got myself. I'm going out to see a charity on Thursday this week called Grace House. And they do a lot of work with people, adults, kids, families, dealing with learning difficulties. And they've asked us to come down there, bring some copies of me colouring book. I've still got some of them. I should put them back on the site, on the shop, so you can buy them. So I sold a few, and then you know me, I moved on. And I should have kept on pushing it and, handing it out. And there was people asking for it, and I just, Anyway, so I've still got a stack of those. So Anne's arranged it for us because she's part of the same networking group. One of the business managers there that goes out and does the charity events and brings in funds and all of that. She wants to meet us because she told her my story about I was a late diagnosis. I've set up a podcast. I've set up my own business and all these other things I've done since. And she wants to have a chat. So she's excited to meet us. When she found out I said yes, she was like, ooh. So well, bring some of your colouring books down. I was like, right, I'll bring some of them. So what I will do, it's an opportunity. Got one of these. I got a worky ticket bag. I'm going to put the books. Put the books in the Loose Gadgets worky ticket bag. I'm just going to give her the bag. So there you go. Market opportunity. And they're hoping. They'll walk us around the place, shows what it's like, and it's for adults as well. So Anne's like, well, it might be a place for you to go, where you fit in, and you can talk about stuff and things, and no pressure. But while you're there, they might ask if you mind speaking to some parents that are on site, and maybe taking some of their questions, and getting some answers that you can't always get directly from the child, because some. Depending on where you are on the spectrum, you can be completely non-verbal or unable to articulate what's going on in your head, right? So maybe you can articulate some of that for them. There's no pressure, but if you want to take some questions while there, you can. I thought, okay, maybe he's shy. So she's going to come down with us, bit of support. Once I get there, likelihood is I'll be in the element, and she'll drag us away. That's probably what'll end up happening. So I'm partially anxious, as I always am, about these things, but she's driving us there, so I don't have to worry about all the parking and that. But I'm a little bit excited, so I'm going to take the book. I think once we have the shop side of things set up on the site, because I'm going to launch the URL, the site today. I'm going to unlock it today. We're going to have some classes that you can buy on there. And course material, and you can sit and do it at home. There'll be a few bits like that on there. And what I probably should do, because I've still got all the photos and all the bits, is I should probably put this on there so you can buy it. It's an adult colouring book, not a colouring book of an adult theme, but a colouring book for adults. Because apparently that's a whole thing. There are people out there, parents, that have got their own pens. Anne, you should see her collection. She loves colouring pencils. She's got mountains of them, and she's got mountains of colouring books. So I didn't know this was a thing.
Yeah.
Like adults in colouring books, yeah, it's a mental health thing. It's a what they do to she does to sort of turn off. She colours in. It's a whole cultural movement that I didn't know about. So that inspired, because I doodle like a maniac, an absolute maniac. You should see the paper I go through. So I took some of them, hide them on the iPad and that. I made a bunch of patterns and things that you can colour in. My brother's neighbour bought two of them, because his son has some similar learning difficulties. He says, do you know what? I've never seen him more engaged in anything. Because I gave him them 2 books. Disappeared for hours.
Yeah.
And sat colouring them in because of the patterns and the lines and staying in the lines. And it just set him off. Didn't see him for hours. Brilliant. So I should have pursued it a little further. So I'll put them on the site. Now, this week... What?
It was interesting.
Yeah.
It's something I just want to sort of pick up on what you said there. The add-on is, since we did the episode on my test that we did for ADHD. I've got that test on the 26th of May, the actual. So I'm investing the money, and I've got my test coming up. And something you said before, we were discussing before about where we go, and when we're going somewhere we don't really know about. You talked about the planning, didn't you? And honestly, I was, as I tend to let you do, I let the flow go, and sometimes I forget. But then you've just reminded me. So everything I've done in terms of Busy Bus, I've planned the whole thing out before I've actually done it. Whether that's through actually physically doing
your Renaissance,
or Google Maps, or
doing your Renaissance.
Yeah, so your
reconnaissance.
Yeah,
that was your whole Glasgow thing, wasn't it? You go up first, have a look around.
Renaissance. Yeah, so this, and I know we can pick similar traits out of people, but what was fascinating was I did the 3 peaks the last couple of days, and so I did 60% of it, and then a driver takes over the end. But I had a list of stuff, and I had links I'd created for Google Maps that actually just took me. I just pressed the links, through your Microsoft package, and I was just clicking. It was creating and telling me where to go. Then I got back to the yard, and this, I won't mention who he is, but this young guy who hadn't done the 3 peaks either, he's like, do you know what I'm doing? And I was like, no. He said, I got this email, and it just said, I've got to do this. And I just looked at him as if to say, so you've had that email as long as I've had it, and you've done nothing with it, and you've not looked at where you could go, what's around about that point, questions you could ask when you get on the bus to say, am I taking you here, or is it actually this location this time? You're almost like playing with words. And I just thought, if that's one of the things that is the traits, but it's actually a positive thing that's helping me out. Whereas he 2 o'clock in the morning last night, I was knackered, he was lost at 2 o'clock in the morning. He was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, I don't know where I should go, I don't know what to do. And I'm just like, well, you know roughly where they're going. When you get on the bus, you just say to the guy that actually knows it, because there was one of them I knew it, and you just say, well, are we going here? And he'll just go, yes, and then you're done.
But aren't you?
But it was just
aren't
no
you hired
planning,
not just as a driver, as a tour guide as well? So you're meant to provide a service, not just a to and from. Well, it's like an experience. It's not a service as such.
Yes. Yes. Well, most of the trips, yes, we are what you would call a tour guide. But on those occasions for the 3 peaks, we are just a driver. So, but it's never for me. It's never just about driving. It's about the interaction. It's about it's about the experience you create. Some a bit of knowledge that you can pass on. I had an occasion yesterday, which we'll maybe talk about in a little bit, where I decided I had to intervene and give them some advice. Although I know nothing about climbing, it was advice about people. so I decided I would pass on some knowledge. But yeah, it was just when you sort of talked about the way we
Oh
pre-plan,
yeah.
the fear of getting lost, the fear of being late, all of that.
So this was on one of your this was on your recent trip, wasn't it? Your recent bit of driving. This your intervention.
Yeah. So the sort of loosely what we were going to talk today about is work culture. So I took a group up to do the Three Peaks Friday and Saturday. There was 11 of them, and what you do is they set off 6 o'clock in the morning up to Bed Nevis, and then I join them sort of as they're coming down to save a bit of time in terms of driving. And what sort of struck me with the group was when they came down singularly, almost like the first part of the group were, how should I call it, alleged managers. I won't even call them leaders, alleged managers, and it was a race for them, and it was about themselves. And then the rest sort of filtered down, and then after there was this gap, and then half an hour later, the last guy come down. So he was left on the mountain for half an hour on his own. And I just thought, and I said to the group leader when they got back, I said, I won't mention the name, but I said, are you okay with the fact that he's on his own? And he just looked at me and was like, I never thought about it. And I was like, oh, okay. So then we drove to Scarfell Pike, and basically you get there 6:30 in the evening, set off for the climb at 7 o'clock, and it's roughly a 4-hour climb, 2 hours up, 2 hours down. So you're coming down in the dark. Yeah?
Yes.
Pitch black. And they've all got they've all got headsets on. They've all got headsets on with a little light shining there.
Maybe it's not the best hand gesture.
I've just got to control myself. No, probably not the best, but it did tickle your fancy. Now I decided I was going to make an intervention. So as we got to the place, I said, and I turned around and said to him, "Do you not mind a bit of advice from an old guy?" And actually, they all went, "Yeah, no problem." And I said, "It doesn't matter whether you're at the front, the middle, or the back. Can I ask that none of you are on your own tonight going up there?" And they looked and they went, yeah. And it was almost like this realization. And it was my point was specifically met at one person, which was the guy that was struggling. But I didn't want to say it. You sort of do it round about the houses. Anyway, they had a discussion. They agreed who was staying with who before they set off. I listened to that discussion, and one of the guys was with the one that was sort of struggling. After 10 minutes, the guy that was struggling came back, and I said, "Are you okay?" Okay, he said, "I realised it was a stretch too far for me tonight after setting off, and I've made the decision to come back, not to affect the group overall." Yeah. And I thought that was a pretty brave decision in terms of him. He actually by default could almost become the leader because he took the decision not to affect the group by coming back.
Into a group rather than a bunch of individuals racing up a mountain. It became a team. It became a team climb, didn't it?
Yeah, and what they decided. Yeah, they decided they had 2 levels of capability within their group. So they were a group of 10 now. So they went in 2 5s. The group that were reasonably fit and wanted to lead and go off and do something, and the other group that were going to be a bit slower. So they split themselves into 2 groups, capability groups, and they went up together and came down together. The second group came down about 10 minutes later than the first group.
They
but
probably
they came
had
down
better
to 2
fun
lots
though,
of 5
because they were with people who were at their level, rather than watching people race off and some people trying to catch them up so they didn't look bad. They just went, no.
Talked about their experiences, talked about what went well, what didn't well. Whereas the first time they came down and I saw you up there, and I was laughing at the 2 that were at the beginning, the 2 that were in the lead on the first climb, actually tried to outsprint each other to get to the finish line first. And I was just like, and these are alleged managers, and I was just like, really? And yeah, an example like that just showed me what we're trying to do with people, organizations, and that even going up a mountain, which is meant to be fun, in a workplace, that you're transposing your philosophies, beliefs, and values on the team while you're up a mountain, and you need checked for it.
I
You
mean,
need checked for it.
any bunch of climbers minimum has a buddy system. This is what I thought. I thought, oh well, this is what every mountain climbing
Yeah.
team does, isn't it? They have a minimum of two of them. So one of them falls or something. There's always someone there to know what happened, or to help you out, or to call for help. So
Well, that was on. I talked to some of the what do you call it, the rescue team last night as I was waiting, because I was waiting to, and they said they'd been out that week already. They'd had 9 emergency calls to go up the mountain.
what?
9
Wow.
in a week. In a week, 9
It
emergency
makes you
calls
wonder
have been up
if
that
it's
mountain
that
for.
frequent. Then what's missing? You know what's missing, and
Well, just lack of knowledge and capability. You go up a pair of shorts and a flip flop. What do you
so lack
expect?
of knowledge and overconfidence.
Go up with your girlfriend,
Yeah.
or boyfriend, or who's never done it before, and or it could be something. Some of the times it genuine, like you've tripped
Yeah,
over
unknowns. Yeah.
and hurt your ankle. It could be genuine, but most of the time it's just lack of thought and lack of coming together. You know, if you're in a group, or I know we're trying to focus on what makes motivated teams and talent. So it's the fact that you're not sticking together and you're just using your own ego. That can also get
Makes
you
you
in
wonder what
trouble up
that
the
team
mountain.
would be like in the workplace if the managers are all focused on their own goals and their goals finishing ahead of someone else's. Meanwhile, that guy's on his own up there, clearly struggling, and no one's asked him, "Are you doing all right? You all right?"
No,
But
no, he came back after 10 minutes, and so he sat with me and one of the other leaders who wasn't going up for the second climb due to illness reasons, and we just had a sort of general chat about stuff. But I messaged afterwards, obviously, because I didn't do the last climb with them, but I messaged and they all they all did it. They enjoyed the overall experience, and but yeah, it was just for me. It was just if you just look at teams out there in general and about how many teams haven't sort of worked out what the right culture is to motivate talent within their culture. There's thousands of teams out there that are need a little bit of guidance.
yeah,
You imagine you could create a business idea. I mean, and a lot of companies already do it, whereby the team building via doing climbing or whatever. And I was talking to Anita today, because there's actually a 3 Peaks challenge where that one yesterday you do 3 peaks in 24 hours, but a lot of the companies do 3 peaks in 3 days. Where you could imagine you do a climb and then you take in some of the sites for the other half a day. And that would be really. I mean, some of the we went up to you're heading up to Fort William and you're going up through what's the place that on James Bond movie as you're heading up towards
was that the
the
sky?
one where
Was that the
is it
Skyfall?
Q or M? Skyfall. Yeah. So you're driving up to Skyfall, and honestly, that place was
Was it?
full of tourists taking pictures up there. I have to tell you about the unsavoury place we passed and the savoury place we passed. So the savoury place we passed, apart from Skyfall, was on the left as you're driving up. Is the house where what's her face, who wrote the Harry Potter
J.K.
books,
Rowling.
was she wrote the books there. J.K. Rowling. So that was people taking back selfies, and that place that she allegedly rented for a period of months to write the stories. And then the unsavoury place on the right hand side as you travel up is Jimmy Savile's old house.
I had no idea where that was.
Oh, let's just
I
say,
always assumed he lived in London or something. No.
well, I didn't know. Well, he had a country place where, and that place has just been decimated with graffiti. Never been lived in since he died. and you can imagine the graffiti on that house. Yeah, and it's right on the main road as you're heading up to Fort William. And but there's a couple of examples of the good, the bad, and the ugly on the way up to Fort
You'd be
William.
better off just knocking that
And
down, right?
yeah,
Because it's become a symbol, hasn't it?
well,
Once people recognise it that way.
it has. It would I thought it was a beautiful house in a beautiful position. Would you buy it, risking that somebody just throws a load of paint over it when you finish doing it up? No, you wouldn't.
Because it'll carry that stigma
Because
for however long.
yeah,
It becomes symbolic.
but you're right. Eventually, somebody needs to just dismantle
Yeah.
it and decide what's happening with it. But it sort of made me think about what things are we looking for to create this culture that motivates talent. And I wrote a few bits down like having the need or the ability to
Yeah.
learn.
Yeah.
So, and that's through growth, through training, through education, the ability to stretch yourself. Then I had affiliation, shares interests and effort. So affiliation about being affiliated to what you're trying to do as an organisation.
Yeah, you quite often made a point of bringing us together on the task, so we all cared about the task, even though we all had our own bit in it. Like, I was obviously doing all the nerdy stuff, and then somebody might be doing the stock stuff, and then somebody might be doing the pick and stuff. But they'll all be different bits. But you always got us all geared up for this, and you made it a goal, and gave us a purpose, a group purpose.
Yeah, yeah, and I think what we basically get
Yeah.
into there is it's basically communication, isn't
Yeah.
it? So we're talking here about communication, and so I'm going to say the word wrong, and I'll do my test after this. I can't even read my own writing. Reaffirmation or confirmation of that as individuals, team, and organisation, we're going in the right direction. So it's that bit. Well done. Great job. We're going in the right direction as individuals, but also as a team and an organisation. So we're trying to reinforce all the time. Great work. Or maybe the next time when you do that, you just touch to an angle to the left or to the right, and you might get a little bit better of a result. That was actually us there saying somebody's maybe not on the right track, but we're doing it in a completely different way.
That's not even a critique, is it? That's a tweak. Like, you haven't said, you haven't started by saying you're doing that. I think you're doing that wrong. You should maybe do it like that. You should say, have you thought? You could maybe, I think if you tweaked it like this, that would actually be a little bit quicker. You'd gain X, Y, or Z out of that. Ooh, aye. A suggestion rather than a critique.
And, and you've just got to be careful how often you use that, because the critique, left or right, if you do it all the time, so what I'm basically maybe saying to you is it's never good enough. So if I'm using that phrase sparingly, it's just like, that's a great piece of work, crack on, just present it, do it, we're good. But if it needs a little bit of tweak, you might want to use that phrase sparingly, and just to give direction every now and then. Otherwise, I become known as the person that will always critique it. And I would we're creators, Simon. In our head, we're creators. So there's a piece of work that we do or get presented, we know it's never really there.
You had this phrase where you said, I'm a man of 95%. Something along, it was a phrase along those lines. Is I'm all about the 95% or the 90%. So you felt, well, as long as I hit that number, I think we're done. The other 5% is like the stretch, is the other bits. But if we hit the 95, you're like, yep, it's done. It's done, isn't it? Well done. Roll it out.
Yeah. And knowing that in yourself as a leader, that you have we're discussing maybe why I struggle with certain things. So knowing that I have those demands in my own head, I have to be careful, and we have to be careful that we're not forcing our own will on the team who are completely different thinkers to us.
You don't want to end up with a team of yous, do you? And lose all independent thought.
No, and that that's a good point, because one of the challenge up and down the structure. Feel free to challenge the structure, the ideas of the structure, and I'm not going to say I'm perfect at that. I'm not, but we always liked the challenge, didn't we?
We did, and
we always
it always felt open. I did the same with my own team when I came back here.
Yeah.
I carried that same culture across. That if I'm not doing it right, it's going to keep not being done right until you tell me, right? So, I always made myself. I tried my best to make myself sound open to that. That you can tell me if that doesn't fit. It's not just I'm the boss. This is the way we're doing it. It's I'm a leader, not a boss, and I'm trying to get the best out of all of us, not just accomplish a task. So I would always leave myself open for, because we used to have what did you call them, skip level meetings. You could actually I had that in there. I had that in, was it Convergys, where the guys on the phones had a team leader, and then there was a manager of sort of that part of the contract, and you had these skip level meetings, as they called them, where you as the person on the phone or on the emails or what have you would go and speak to the person who ran the department, skipping your team leader to talk about how your team leader's doing, how your team's doing in general, and being able to have a forum to talk about things that wasn't directly to your boss, but it drummed in this culture of passing notes upwards, not just sideways, not just talking to the person who's like, oh, this is rubbish, isn't it? Hey, the way we have to do this. You got used to sending it upwards, and you always did that, even as a director of the warehouse. Your door, you physically left your door open on purpose. You can walk in.
Yeah, because there's normally a bad smell in there.
I remember that in Heaven, anybody could walk in, even though you were the director of the whole place. You walk in and say, "Here, this isn't right," or "I'm trying to do this," or "We're trying to do it." You didn't have to follow a chain of events, but even if you did, you were never met with, "I'll pass that on. I'm not going to pass that on." Or it was never an unwelcome thing. It was about bettering the entire team.
Yeah, and part of bettering, next bit was on there is the ability to play, which you get motivated by the work itself. So the fact that you can play or be creative or try different things, you become motivated by the work, which is, I think, is a really important. I was thinking the word play was having fun, but it's actually enjoying doing the work. So it becomes more fun than work.
Yeah, like I might enjoy writing the app itself, the process of writing the app or the script.
Yeah. If you if you were given something new, which could see your eyes computing, and then you were just off, and then you were just engrossed in it, and until it was basically completed, and that's what I would be looking. People are just flipping it, I'm picking again. Well, no, I'm picking for a customer that is in Germany, in a corner of Germany that is really important, and I need to do really well. Now that creates a different purpose in terms of what I'm doing. I'm not just picking an order. I'm picking it
this
for
customer
somebody.
is constantly complaining about the accuracy of their order. Right, do you know what? We are going to nail it this time. And know that before it goes out the door, it is 100%. So if they come back and complain, we can say, no, we did this, and this. We've got photos of the bag before it went out. Here it is. Bring them up on it. Or it may be that it's a brand new, expensive brand that we've brought on as a customer, and they've given up part of the shop to Pandora, and the merchandisers come in and say, we need to impress this one, because if we do, we've got another couple of $100,000 that we could have in this store and this other store. And you would always make those things known, right? This is what you're doing it for. Not just come in, pick, go home.
Yeah.
Wasn't like that.
No, it was. I had an unsavoury experience this week with a sofa delivery, and I talked to the manager who was responsible, and I said, "Look, we were in the logistics. I was in the logistics business for 30 odd years, and we used to deliver. Are you ready? We used to deliver 60 million pieces a year, and we were only ever remembered for the one
Yeah.
went wrong.
It was,
We were only ever remembered for the one that went wrong.
I've forgotten some of them numbers, Bloody hell, 60 million.
Yeah, we did 60 million pieces out of that shed a year, and we were only remembered for the one we got wrong, and that's the one where you got phone calls. So when he's telling me on the phone, blah, 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 I'm just saying, look, I'm not having a good experience here, and I know you deliver thousands of sofas a year, and I'm having a bad experience here.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to remember. So you're right. If you want now, what did we used to do? We used to go to the ends of the earth to try and create a solution for that problem, to give them a different ending experience. And that would involve lots of other things, slipping them a couple of bits free, or putting on a dedicated courier, or picking it the same night and shipping it the same day, or sometimes delivering it by hand,
a gesture of some kind,
and it just because people want to feel like, rather than giving them a crappy experience or having a crappy team, we were a team that were emotionally involved, and in trying to meet the goals and objectives of what those customers wanted as well. So it's not just picking, and it's not just creating. It's sort of living and breathing it, enjoying it. And it was interesting, because I was thinking a good example and of an interesting team recently, and I couldn't get away from the example of Newcastle United recently. And so I'm not a great follower of it, and I know you don't really follow football greatly, but Newcastle, after 20 minutes of playing Tottenham the other week, were 5-0 up. Yeah, they were 5-0 up after 20 minutes, and the thing that blew my mind away was 9 of those players for the Newcastle team were from the previous manager. The team that was getting annihilated all the time and not doing well and nearly got relegated. Right. 9 of those players.
So you couldn't say, it's because we've bought so-and-so and we've spent 60 million on. Wow.
That is about Eddie Howe and his team, and how they've got those guys motivated to a common goal.
That's it.
And that just, it's a great local example, and I we should be singing about it. And that just tells me about, he's got those guys committed to a common cause. They've probably, I don't know how many players work in a team now. Let's just say 30, 35 players. And he's managing to gel up those 30, 35 players, knowing that only 11 can go out on the pitch, not 35.
That's fair, yeah. Yeah. You lot might not get to go out, but these lot will. But we're all working as a team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It also got me thinking about, obviously, as it does, it got me reflecting on a couple of books, and one of them that we used for your interview. And the book's called The Ideal Team Player by Patrick Lencioni. And the principle, and I know I'm sort of paraphrasing a little bit, but the principle is that we used to interview with 3 different people, didn't we? And so I think maybe not on yours, but we took. Remember how we took a vote and you got in?
And on mine, and then you took a vote afterwards.
Yeah, and we always laugh about our friend, because you got in on a 2 to 3 majority, didn't you?